So, welcome. Guido, can you hear me? You're the only one who can answer me.
Yes,
Perfect.
I can hear you.
So, welcome to our UX Psychology Meetup number 15, is it already? A human needs check on sustainability with my beloved friend, Dr. Guido Beier. It's the second or the third time, I guess, we have you in our illustrious round. I'm Mark. I'm the founder of the UX Psychology Meetup here in Germany, and I've been working at the intersection of research, design, technology, and psychology for almost 20 years now. If you have any questions about today's talk that we should discuss afterwards, please post them here in the chat. We would love to do that. If you want to support us with the curation of any upcoming meetups, or if you know someone who should be invited here to talk in this round, please write us a mail to info@uxps.eu. So as always, this is how the meetup is structured today. We are already in the middle of the introduction. In a bit, we will have Guido's talk, which will last about plus minus 40 minutes. And after the talk, we still have more than enough time to answer all your questions. Yeah, I was asking myself, looking at my body, why are there so many diet programs in the Western world? Because it seems that people often fail to account for their current actions in terms of future consequences. When I think about people and their behavior, I mostly think about how few really plan and understand consequences for their future, but rather satisfy short-term and easily attainable needs. They struggle to understand these consequences, and I do also, and to act accordingly. Am I right? I think so. But allow me to introduce Guido. I hope he enlightens us, our minds on the topic of human needs and sustainability, and perhaps provides us with the ways to transition this topic into fruitful discussions with our clients, users, and customers. So let's dive right in. Guido, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Mark. Yes, eating is a human need, of course, and you get very fast sensations if you have tasty food. This is one of the biggest issues when it comes to sustainability. We'll go to it later. Feedback is tricky when it comes to sustainability. And feedback is also a human need, but seldom fulfilled. When it comes to sustainable actions. So let's share. I have prepared, of course, a little bit, and hope that you will see this soon. So, okay, now hopefully you can see the ship,
perfect.
a big one and a smaller one. I think a few of you will have seen this picture before. I've just found it interesting because the ship in the front is the Titanic and the ship behind the ship is a normal vacation crusader, Kreuzfahrt ship. Crusader, I don't know the English word for this, but you know what I mean. A ship where what you can use to go to vacation. Yeah, the Titanic was the biggest ship at its time. And now we have our times, and this is not a sensation anymore. It's normal. And yeah, we're getting bigger and bigger, Mark. Not only you, also the ships. And a lot of other stuff is getting bigger and bigger. The cars. Yeah? I live in Bonn. The parking slots are not built for cars for today. And it's always funny to see how people try to go in such a parking slot. Okay, we want to talk about sustainability and why it is so hard for us to act sustainable or get our clients, our customers, ourselves, our families more into this behavior. And at first, I want to tell you a little bit about the role of human needs when it comes to a sustainable experience or experience at all. And because it's important to understand how human needs drive our experience. And one part of experience is our behavior, which we plan we want to, how we want to act then. Some of you, I have seen some familiar names, many greetings from Bonn. Of course, some of you already know this, but there are some new faces, and that's why I just want to spend about 5 or 6 minutes to talk about this experience and humanity thing. So this is a for my life. In my life, I have 2 important days in the year. It's not my birthday. It's not Christmas. The first day is the day of German reunion, because it was very important in my for my life. And the second one is a moving day, the overshoot day, because this always reminds me on how fragile our planet, or at least our life on the planet, is. And I think most of you know this picture here. It's you can find your country, yeah, the position of your country. Germany and German-speaking countries like Switzerland, a part of it, or Austria. We are all in around May. When I started watching at this picture, it was in June. Now it is in May. And the only country you will not find here is India, Mark. Maybe interesting for you, because India is not living over their own possibilities. But this will come soon, I guess. And important here, you can see a kind of timeline how this overshoot day has moved. And I have located Germany in the middle there. The thing is, we all, if we deal with customer experience, user experience, of course we act with companies, we have clients. Maybe we work for product development, maybe we support marketing. The thing is that, yeah, all companies celebrate themselves. They celebrate their sustainability campaigns. But nevertheless, we go down and down and down. This overshoot day is coming faster and earlier all the time. And so one thing is to talk about it, and the other thing is to take sustainable actions to ensure sustainability. And I thought this is a little bit harsh here, but to make this a little bit more clear, if every human on the planet lived like a German, like I am, Swiss or Austrian, we would need 3 Earths. But because we have only one, that would mean, if we are consequent, that 2/3 of the whole world's population cannot live here anymore, which is 5.3 billion people. So this is weird. It's weird, and leads me to the conclusion that our resource consumption is either the greatest injustice or the greatest killer there ever was. And that's why this Earth Overshoot Day is so important for me. Very often we hear, or maybe we act also the same way, yeah, okay, when we buy something new, it's very popular to plant a tree or to do something else. Unfortunately, this is not really working, because the whole mechanism behind plant a tree on anything you do and anything you buy is not a very honest business. I just have this source here from The Guardian from 2023. Maybe you have others. This, of course, is not enough and is not healing the world. So just a few words to point out how, why we are sitting here. Of course, you know why we are sitting here, but it's always important for me to myself to make it clear that it's not something we only can talk about. We need to do something. The important role, why we act sustainable or not, is our experience. Our experience is, everyone is talking about experience. We live in experience economy. User experience has experience in it. Customer experience, brand experience, employee experience, a lot of experience. Normally I like to speak about human experience, because in the end we are all human. And just want to, as announced in the beginning, want to spend 5 minutes to talk with you about what experience is, because very often when we talk about experience in companies, we talk about experience management. That's not bad. It's okay to have something in mind, like a customer journey, for instance. And if you ask people what is experience, very often you will hear things like, experience is the sum of all interactions of a customer with a company or a product or a service, something like the sum of all interactions. That's not bad because it looks at all different touch points. That's cool. On the other hand, it is not explaining to us what experience is. It only tells us that it's important to look everywhere. So it's like if I would explain walking by anywhere I walk. And because this meetup is UX and psychology, and I'm a psychologist from my heart, of course it is interesting to understand what happens when we experience something. And to make it short, experience is, on the one hand, first it's an interaction between us and the environment. And mostly the environment is somehow designed by a company, an organization, or whatever. On one hand, left, we have us as humans and what we need. And what we need is depending on our genetics, our learning history, and the context. And on the other hand, it's important what we get from companies or other organizations, from the environment. Product, services, brands, marketing, all these things can generate experience in us. And experience in the core, as a psychological process, is a comparison process. And all the time, mostly unconscious, processed comparison of what we need and what we get. Comparison of our needs with the offers we get. And the results of this comparison process are emotions, cognitions, and motivations. Very often, in 90 whatever percent, it's unconscious. That's why it's not so easy to understand what people experience, even for ourselves. That's why it's important to do research and to understand the left side of this picture, what we need. This is really good, and yeah, it's a research issue. And also understand the experience, which emotions we generate during an experience. And then the right side is more the experience management, the value chain, how we create experience and how we transfer what we have learned from the left side into a good product and service development. So if needs are so important, because it's all about human needs on the left side of this picture, we compare what we need with what we get, then of course it makes sense to think about what we need. And there are a lot of human needs approaches out there. I think the most famous is from Abraham Maslow, which is not bad. Okay, it's nearly 100 years old, but it's not a bad approach. Something about over 30 human needs are there. And but during my work, 25 years of work as a human experience researcher, I would say I often found that 30 plus some needs are not enough. And yes, they are not hierarchical like in the original Maslow idea, but there are very often people, it's not possible to describe what people do by this by 30 needs or no. So, and that's was one reason, because one reason why I decided to create a little bit more bigger approach, which is maybe a kind of Maslow 3.0. It's bigger, it's deeper, because the needs are described. We describe the needs, and we had some pictures to it, connected with emotions. So it's deeper in the description of human needs, and it's not a pyramid; it's not hierarchical. So, but what do we need, and what needs are at all? The first thing is, when we talk about needs, we can ask ourselves why we have some. And the best answer I found was we have needs because their needs are somehow represented in our genetics, and they remember us what we should do to unfold our potential as a human. If we stop eating, okay, we die someday, and all the effort was for nothing. If we would stop being curious, we would not learn anymore, and we would probably, as a human race, we would not exist anymore. And needs, because from an experience standpoint, they steer our behavior. When we experience something, we feel emotions. And these emotions decide what we want to do by motivation. Simply said, we can love something and stay with it, or go there. We can leave something because we don't like, because it's not satisfying for our needs. Then we leave, or we don't buy it, or we don't do it. Or maybe it's half cool and we change. Love it, leave it, change it. That's the logic. And that means that behind every behavior is a need, or maybe mostly there are more than one. This little girl here is jumping into a puddle. And of course, we can ask ourselves, why is she doing this? And there are some needs behind it, but the most important need, and it's maybe not so obvious, is feedback. Because if you are in the age of this kid, it's very important for you to understand that if you act, something happens, that you have a role in the world, you can do something, you can change the world somehow. This is important to get their motivation to be active in the world. And kids in this age, they are really they're searching for feedback everywhere. Have you seen what I have done, mom or dad? Or jumping into a puddle, because when the kid is jumping, then water's coming up, you have a sound. And this is very fast. Mark, again, the problem with loving eating and being in good shape is that the feedback is so slow. Yeah, it tastes good. This feedback is fast, but the change of our figure is not so fast. And that's why, yeah, we act like we do. I was on vacation and I also had 3 kilos more. Okay, and because this is a nice action for the kid, the emotions which resulting from this satisfied feedback are clearly to be seen here. Emotion is king, and this is totally fun. Emotions would also occur if the need is not fulfilled. If we get no feedback at all, imagine this. As an adult, it's also important to get feedback. Yeah? So, for instance, at your workplace, you do something and you think, "Wow, I was great. A lot of effort is there," and the feedback you get is, or no feedback at all. Sometimes that happens, and it is the emotion then is not the emotion the kids have here. You are somehow disappointed, you feel lost a little bit, you feel somehow maybe a little bit depressed. And this is what I mean. With every need, there are emotions related to this need when the need is fulfilled or not fulfilled. This is the result of all the research, 77 human needs. Okay, we can discuss, is it really 77? Is it exactly 77? I would say 77 plus minus 10% gives us a good overview about which needs drive human experience. That's a lot. That's quite a lot. And but humans are complex. And if you try to reduce human to, okay, there are some theories outside which say, okay, 8 most important needs, or 10, or 5, or 3 maybe. You can do this, but in the end, and you try to design something, and you need to make design decisions, then you will not really create and meet the needs which you do not really meet the needs which are really important in this context, in this situation. Just give you an example. If you look in the middle here, in the social needs sector, there are, of course, you can say belonging is a social need. But it depends a lot what kind of belonging we mean. Depends on our social relationships. We can mean, for instance, friendship, or we can mean love. We can talk about family. We can talk about a group belonging, which is when we work in teams, or we are cheering for a football club or whatever. And these different kinds of belonging, just an example, will, if you want to create an app, for instance, for yes, we want to create an experience of a good experience for belonging, and of course you need to take care. Is it for friendship? Is it for love? For family? Or for a team, for instance? It will look different then. So when we have this human experience and human needs, what can we do as human experience experts or UX experts for sustainability? And if we want to answer this question, then there are, simply said, 2 approaches. The first thing is, yes, we need to address and satisfy needs which support sustainable behavior. That's the first thing. The second one, also very easy, is that when it comes to creation, the most important way, of my opinion, is that we need to create sustainable products in a circular economy, because our resources are somehow limited on the earth, and we need to become better in this. When we focus on human needs and sustainability, and we want to include this in our work and in designing or researching for sustainable products, then we can find 3 categories of needs, which are somehow related to sustainable behavior. The first needs are needs which benefit from sustainable products, sustainable behavior, everything what has to do with sustainability, because sustainability on its own is not a human need. Sustainability is something that a product can have, or a service, or our behavior can somehow be sustainable. It's not a human need. But there are some needs which really benefiting from sustainability. The second category is we have to look at needs which enable sustainable behavior, which make it possible to act sustainably. And the third category is needs which are somehow affected negatively by sustainability, because in most cases, and this is a kind of a present for a UX researcher or designer, we humans act not to fulfill one need and that's it. Very often we act in a kind of network of different needs, and very often we are in conflict between one need and the other. And fulfilling one need would maybe hurt another need. And it's always great if you can identify such conflicts, because if you find a solution for this, then everyone will be happy and will love your service and your product. If you ask, where are this comes from, what Guido was telling us, we had a lot of projects during the last years, like all of you, I think, about sustainable product services and to understand this whole sustainability topic better. For instance, we had a work from in German, it's Umweltbundesamt. It's a governmental organization dealing with sustainability. I don't know the exact name in English, but okay, maybe Mark can tell us later. To understand why it's so hard in Germany to bring people to the point where they leave their old carbon-based cars. So it's a German holy grail somehow, and it's not easy to make the people use electric cars or public transport, whatever. That was a project which gives us a lot of insights how people think about sustainability, how they feel about how sustainability is communicated, and or we had a project, for instance, when it comes to German big market or social research agency, Infas, to create sustainability personas for Germany, and just as examples. So we did a lot of interviews, because this is how we normally work, to come to this point where we understand the relationship between what a product or service has and what it means for the people in terms of needs, which needs are satisfied or dissatisfied. And it's always important to look at product services, but also look at the communication. And so needs which benefit from sustainable behavior are mostly responsibility. I would say this is the traditional first one. Like, yes, we need to take care for the planet. We need to take care for our children, our grandchildren, and so on. This is responsibility. Sometimes it works, but very often it doesn't work, especially in communication. Because in our head, and this is why it is so important to understand what experience is, and that it's mostly unconscious. In our head, of course, we can say it makes totally sense. It makes totally sense to eat less and do more sports. It makes totally sense not to waste some stuff. But thinking alone has not the power to change behavior. Our behavior is driven by our emotions. We can think and discuss solutions, but that doesn't mean that we do it. The energetic aspect, okay, I start now, I act now, I do more sports. This is something what is only activated when our needs tells us. So, oh, I'm heard. For instance, our self-consistency, how we want to be when we look at the mirror. We say, oh, now it's too much. Now it's too much. Oh, and we have this negative emotion. Then we can say, okay, I'm looking for a diet which works. And so self-consistency is interesting when it comes to sustainability, because self-consistency can, oh yes, I have done something good. Yeah, this is something you can build on a product or a communication, enable people to do the right thing, and they feel good because self-consistency. I have a good conscience, so I've done a good thing. On the other hand, and this is what we often found is in communication, people protect themselves because no one wants to be unbalanced in their self-consistency. And if you talk, for instance, communicate and address drivers of carbon, so related cars, carbon-based motors, then they will say, oh no, I don't want to be the bad guy again. All the time, people are telling me I'm the bad guy, I'm doing the wrong thing. I don't want to hear this anymore because it hurts my self-consistency. And I want to protect myself. So I don't listen to you anymore. And this is, by the way, the most important result from the study with Bundesamt, because at this point, 2 years old, this project, it was not possible, it has made no sense to create another communication like we did before, and like it's still going on. We will come to this point later. Innovation is very interesting. Let's stay with the cars because it's a German habit. For instance, if you talk about energy self-supply by solar systems or whatever, if people understand that it's an innovation is a human need, and that this is the future, this is a new technology, then they are interested. And people who have a big desire for innovation, then innovation need is very strong in them. They are interested in new solutions and very more open to adopt it if you talk to them in an innovative way and say, yeah, okay, this is the future of building a house. It's better than address, okay, come on, think about the future and our planet. Okay, liveliness is also very interesting. By the way, it's my personal most beloved human need is liveliness. It means feel that you are alive, feel something, feel emotions, feel. It helps. It helps in good and bad times. And liveliness, for instance, are also plus and minus here, because it is when it is fun to do something, and it's fun is always the result which you get when you do research. Yeah, I'm doing it because it's fun. It makes always sense to ask, what is the fun? What is behind the fun? Because just by the way, if you do research, the interesting stuff comes behind the fun. And why is it fun? In liveliness, for instance, I remember a quote of one driver who said, everyone in the world should one time in his life had a ride with a cabriolet. Because, and liveliness is behind this, you feel all this, you perceive all the air, the freedom and anything. You feel alive if you do this. And of course, you can use this liveliness need to create experiences which are very sensual, emotional, and give people the feeling, yes, I'm, for instance, driving bicycle, this is also very good for liveliness. It's a little bit, the little cabriolet. Meaning, of course, if you can address that, this is something we should live for. So sustainability is something that gives you meaning in life. Caring for others and so on. This is also something which can support sustainable behavior. But now it's getting a little bit more complicated because this is something, and here's the really issue is here. because we need some needs to be fulfilled that we can act sustainable. And for instance, we need feedback. This is number one. And feedback is most tricky because the change of climate, for instance, or is so slow that we not experience it at all. We experience it, okay, yeah, summers are getting hotter now, but the connection between our action and this development is absolutely not possible to make. Except we could create some experiences which translate what we do in something we can perceive. I remember a project, oh, I'm sorry, talking about cars all the time, when I worked for Daimler 25 years ago. And in cars, it's a point that every new innovation is at first realized in the most expensive models. I don't know why. And normally, the most expensive models are driven by people who have a lot of money and very old, and they are not very open for new innovations. So this is somewhat tricky. And 25 years ago, we had we discussed how we can reduce the fuel consumption of our cars, and one way was, okay, maybe we can teach people some driving styles or motivate people to save some fuel while driving. People who have so much money that they can drive an S-Class, of course, you cannot motivate them by money. And the thing was that the solution which worked very well was kind of creating a competition. 25 years ago, it was not normal that you can see how many fuel you actually consume. That was not standard in cars. And when people drive the same route every day and say, oh, I've consumed so much, maybe tomorrow I will be better. And we have addressed two needs here. Feedback is the first, because you see how much fuel you consume. On the other hand, we have addressed performance, because people who have so much money, very often, they are very successful in their job and they are high performing. And you can get them by creating a little bit kind of race and Okay. Next thing is competence. People need to know what they are doing, and this is one of the biggest issues that we all have. Who of you knows if it's more important to stop the water from flowing while you're brushing your teeth, or shutting down the light when you leave a room? We have no idea, or for instance, nobody knows how many carbon or energy or whatever is consumed by creating a solar cell. And the whole complexity of this topic, of course, we can say, yeah, it's complex, it's not easy to communicate, and how can we explain it to the people? But people feel completely incompetent, and this is something you don't want to be. You don't want to feel incompetent. It feels terrible. You feel insecure, you feel weak. Again, we talk about emotions, and emotions steer our behavior. You don't want to feel that way. That's why you keep the way you act, because there you feel safe. Control. If we don't have feedback, we don't feel competent, we have no control about what we are doing. I don't know if I'm separating my garbage, if this what happens with it. I don't know. Maybe in Indonesia, the pictures what I have in mind, there are big mountains of garbage from Germany, from England, from rich countries. Performance we already had discussed. Trust is also important. I'm just jumping a little bit over it. Fairness and respect, because I want to show you some examples. Respect is interesting. We will see it in a few minutes. In the third category, there are needs which somehow stand in the way of sustainable behavior. Not so many. When I just flipping back, we have a few which benefit from sustainable behavior. The most are somehow enabler. Then we have a few which really stand in the way of it. And here we talk about this needs conflicts. Efficiency, for instance. I show you an example. Comfort, hedonism, and luxury. These conflicts can be solved. That's the good news. I remember a luxury study which we did in 3 countries, in Japan, in the US, and in Germany. And the interesting finding was that the more the people had, really rich people, the more they had, the simpler was their approach to luxury. And in the end, luxury was was something like, oh, I feel that I'm alive. Yeah, somehow very easy things. I have time for my own. I have a garden where I can sit. Something simple. And the Rolex level is a little bit, yeah. If you the people getting rich in the early stages of richness, or somehow they want more status and so. But it's a luxury. It's possible to combine luxury with frugality, for instance. That's possible. Because we have, of course, we have the discussion. Yeah, should we somehow save and reduce our consumption? Should we reduce our consumption? Oh no, we can't tell this to the people because they don't like to do this. Maybe there's a way to argument with hedonism and luxury, but it's not. We need to think about this. Some examples. The garbage example. Something to do with feedback, and not alone feedback, but also we separate garbage, but does that influence climate change in any way? I can't see it. This is the time delay, because as UX experts, you know that the most important thing in feedback is that it needs to be fast, and it's not fast in this case. But maybe we find solutions. We find solutions that create fast feedback, and I show you one from another sector. But I really like this, and it can be a good baseline. Yeah? So it's important for us to provide tangible feedback for sustainable or non-sustainable behavior. People need to see what the consequences are, and we need somehow to modify the information. I hope this works here. It's a YouTube video I really love. You can. It's called the social swipe. This whole campaign or the service, and I don't know if you can hear the sound, but we will see. The most important thing is to look at what happens. So I hope this is a good example for feedback, which is normally not possible to get. But by this creative way, great work, people have the immediate experience of feedback, how this bread is cut. I love this. And you see the smile, yeah? The emotion. Yeah. We had a little project with AMD, a big food company, and the colleagues there think about plant-based meat alternatives and how it's possible to communicate them. And what we find when we ask people, these are all quotes related to research here, people, of course, don't understand what happened there. What is it? So for me, it's completely unclear whether plant-based meat alternatives are really good for the environment and for myself. What's in it, how it is processed, is it healthy, and what are the environmental costs? So we need much more transparency. We need solutions which tells the people what happens, what is really in a sustainable solution, what are the benefits, and also what are crucial points. So it's it's not okay. It's not very meaningful to communicate only the benefits. We will see this later. So what we have to do as UX experts is we must improve customers' competence and sustainability. People want to be able to do the right thing. Yeah? Self-congruence again. This is always a kind of network of needs. But when you work on one need, some other needs are also affected by this. And by the way, on the left side, maybe you noticed these are the descriptions of the needs, how you can find them in our need system. You have always a picture and some words to explain what competence, for instance, is, and some emotions which we experience when it's fulfilled or not. And this one is one of the most crucial points when it comes to sustainability is respect. It's not the thing it's what is the first in our minds, but you very often get this when it's about communication. It's not it's not only in sustainable behavior, but also, for instance, from an employee experience, and then we talk about company communication in corporates. But this example is from a car study. In the discussion about electric cars or solar energy, we are getting fooled by every lobby. I feel like an object of manipulation. This is what we very often find. People, they get the information which the sender wants to give, and we never get the picture with all the pros and cons, or with the most important pros and cons, for instance. And this interest-driven communication is perceived from normal customers like they are used for something. They are not respected as humans or as thinking beings, just for the purpose of someone else. This is very hard because respect is one I mostly avoid. If people ask me, 77 human needs are so many, can you give us the 10 most important ones? I don't do this because if I give 10, then the other 66 are not in focus anymore. So respect is one of the most important from the social need category, because we can live without friendship or love for a while. It doesn't feel good, but we can do this. Living without respect is very hard and will directly drive you into depression. If we are not respected by someone, we choose love it, leave it, change it. We choose leave it, definitely, because we don't want to have such situations. Last example is comfort, and this is my own case, because yes, me too. I also want to live more sustainable. Of course, I want to do this. But when I look at my daily life, there are a lot of moments when I think, no, I don't want to go into the cellar. For instance, today I took a shower, and I thought, I would like to see how big the effect is when I take shorter showers. But to read the electricity or water consumption, I have to go to the basement, to the cellar, and we are simply too lazy to do this. Why can't I have the information where I'm acting, in the moment when I'm acting? These psychological costs are often too high. So we as UX experts, we need to create easy and convenient solutions which break down usage barriers. This, for instance, I took this picture a few hours ago. This is my gasometer, and you see this fitness thing here. It's in our cellar. Mark, shout out. Of course, and I use it as seldom as I'm reading my gas, how many gas I have used. This is the place in my flat which is visited the least, I would say. I like also this example from a Spanish town, Pontevedra, where people decided I will not start it. It's too risky for me because it's video you can find anywhere in you Google for Pontevedra. It's a Spanish city which has banned cars from from the center for 19 years. 19 years. This is quite a lot. And the interesting thing about this is that during this 19 years, more and more people wanted to live there in the city, because if you talk to people who have the power to decide something, these people are full of fears. And this is a nice example. People want to live there, and the most important thing, the politicians, Bürgermeister, the head of the city, he is still the head of the city after 19 years. So you don't need to fear. Please, dear decision makers, take this risk. Yes, the most of you are somehow familiar with concepts about circularity. So this is what I just want to address and don't want to discuss at this point. Reuse, reduce, repair, refuse, recycle, reimagine. What is important for me here is that as designers, UX research, and so on, what we need to do is that we have to, that we have to put this into we need to put it in the list as a requirement, as a customer requirement. And this is our job when we talk about UX. When we are the advocates of the customer, then we need to put this on the table. What we're actually doing to support sustainable creation of sustainable product, services, and so on is, of course, we are analyzing in projects human needs, as I told you, and actually we're developing a human needs-based sustainable experience scale, which helps to decide which design solutions should be preferred or not, because due to which needs are addressed and how good they are addressed when it comes to sustainable behavior. Okay, this was my input, 40 minutes, I guess. Thank you very much.